Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers from around the world, talking with makers from around the world. Here's Jamie Page, Steve Twidell, Chris Cute, and now your host, Richard Morley.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good times, whatever time it is, wherever you're listening. Joined me, as always, Mr. Chris Cute.
How's it going?
And Mr. Jamie Page.
Hello.
He's our very own baby shark. I'm not quite sure where Steve is. He did say he's having some logistical problems getting here, but no biggie. He'll join us when he joins us. Up until then, it's the usual trio. And joining us as a special installment this week, I'm genuinely looking forward to this. I think someone's going to pull up a sandbag and swing the lantern for the rest of the evening. We're joined with Onur from DiesInEveryFilm Customs. How you getting on, Onur?
Yeah, I'm very good. As a baby shark. Do.
There you go, Caroline Hines. We started out with Baby Shark, so yeah, there's no excuse.
He said do.
We did say do, didn't we? Oops, sorry.
As always. We'll be back with you in just a second, Onur. I've just got to run through a few normal kind of houseworky stuff. Because I know you're having a few technical issues. Fingers crossed it will survive the night. But as always, this week's shout outs and thank yous go to over on YouTube, Jim Dockrell, Harnell Media, and Joe from Once Upon a Bow Boutique. And also, I believe, Curious Maker Dan. But I don't know if that was on Instagram or whether that was on YouTube. It doesn't really matter. But, thanks, Dan. And I thought also this week, because we don't always do this, I don't think we've ever actually done it before, just a few shout outs to some of our recent followers on somewhere or another. We've got Woody Dudism. I think that's an awesome name. Jan Wills, Derek Shop, Leonardo Farias, and Rebecca Gray. So huge welcome to all those folks. That's awesome. Don't forget you can also listen, rate, blah, blah, blah on your favorite fruit-based MP3 music podcast player. Tonight's podcast is brought to you in part by York Script, the Wood Turners Abrasive Paste, our good friend Chad over at Mancrafting, Pam from Highland Boxes, and also Steve over at Harnell Media, who does a lot of the back-end work with Jamie and our website. If you want to know more about that sort of stuff and our sponsors, visit our website, makersinternationalpodcast.com/sponsors to find out more. Chris, do we have any random listener questions for the week?
We do. We're going to get right into it. This is up to you guys. And this question comes from... I lost it. I don't know. If this is your question and you're out in the chat, just raise your hand and go, hey, that was my question. I really need to start writing these names down. I'm sorry, guys. The question this week comes from somebody regarding tool purchases. Gentlemen, they want to know, what is your first consideration, knowing that there will be others to follow, but they're concerned about what is the first thing that you consider when deciding on which brand of tool to buy? Is it A, will it last long? B, will it get the job done to my satisfaction? Or C, is it the cost? Meaning, is this the best tool considering what I'd like to pay? So when you know that you need to get a new tool because one breaks, or you may be getting your first one, what's the first thing that you consider when making a tool purchase? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Depends what it is for me. If it gets a job done, if it's a one thing, then I ain't got to do a lot of it. Then it's a case of, it's like an electrical planer, for example. If it's a thing that I've only got to use once or twice, then I'll buy a cheap one. If it's something like a scroll saw that I'm going to use a lot, then I'll buy a decent one.
So if it's like a random use tool, you're just going to go whatever gets the job done, I'm going to get, and I'll buy the cheapest. Okay.
Yeah, but if it's a router, I'd never buy one.
That's because you're too scared.
What about you? I mean, do you have any of these kind of considerations when you're looking to buy a new tool, or do you just kind of go, it's available, I'll take it?
Well, to start off with, I'd probably have bought something cheap, but now I tend to look around, see what people get. Obviously, I'll go for cheap, but something reliable and cheap. You know, they
So
tend
basically,
to...
the best tool that you can basically afford is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, or the best tool that you're willing to, considering what you want to pay, this is the one I'm gonna get. It's like I don't care. I'm kind of right there with you. What about you, Richard?
Yeah, pretty much the same as everyone else. Generally, will it fit with what I've already got, like batteries or power or that sort of stuff? But I was expecting you, Onur, to say it would depend on what comments you got on your previous video as to what your next purchase would be.
Yeah, grinder, then monkey dust. Can't think what else. I've never had a request for a scroll saw. Funnily enough, tends to be just routers.
Yeah.
That's actually not that strange. Sorry, Jamie.
That's all right. That's all right. You just pick on the fat kid.
Well, I'm right there. I'm right there with Onur. It's what I will spend. My first thought when I want to go buy a new tool is what is it going to cost me, and then when I go and see, but then if I have the opportunity to shop around to where I can actually handle each different tool, if I pick up one and it just feels cheap, then I don't care how much it costs. I'm not going to buy it. As long as it seems like it's safe to use, I'm good to buy whatever's going to get the job done. So, that's cool. But I mean, I was wondering about Richard, because I mean, Richard does this for a living. So I figured that possibly longevity of the tool would have something to play with how you look at things, Richard, as opposed to, is this just the cheapest thing to get me by for this job? I didn't know if you would be looking more long-term than that.
Yeah, I deliberately sort of was a bit wishy-washy with the answer, because you sort of covered obviously there will be other questions down the road.
Right.
Which is where that plays in. I kind of really just wanted to talk to Onur, if I'm honest. And just
okay, well, let's get on with it. Let's nice segue, Richard. Let's just end that bit now, Chris, and let's get on to talking to Onur.
You set him up, I'll knock him down, mate. But yeah, so back to Onur, because you are the man of the hour, as it were, and I think it's quite poignant that you are on with us tonight, and this is definitely something or an avenue that I'd like to sort of explore with you, because not only are you a knife maker and a restorer of stuff and vandal of historic items, apparently, according to Facebook, father and all the rest of it, you're a veteran as well, and you're an ex-soldier. Looking through your Instagram feed, looks like you did either Herrick or Telic. Not quite sure.
Herrick.
Right. Okay. But it looked like some of the earlier ones dressed by your costume. Shall we say?
Yeah. The old cam. Yeah.
So I mean, you told us briefly in the week that you started off making stuff as a kid with your granddad.
Yeah.
Do you want to just sort of explore that avenue, and then we'll kind of brush into the more modern times?
Well, yeah, basically when I was a little kid, I used to go to my granddad's every weekend, and he was like a machinist. He used to work at an engineering spot, and he had like a really tiny little shed, and I used to just enjoy going in there and playing with his drill, and I can't even remember what we used to make. We just used to make random stuff, really, but it was just sort of started from there, and that's where my interest sort of perked up for making things.
And presumably it was, I mean, I say presumably, that's a very assumption-based comment, but was it purely with your grandfather, or did you also do that sort of stuff with like your dad or brothers and sisters or anything like that?
No, it was just my granddad, really. Obviously, he had a thing where he used to just like going in shed and doing stuff in his shed, and then I sort of tagged along because I was there. I used to enjoy, like at school, there was like certain classes what I'd enjoy where, like electrical classes and stuff like that. So there'd be stuff like that where I'd enjoy it at school as well.
Okay. And then growing up, presumably you carried it on through into your adult life and doing what you're doing now.
Well, it was strange because as I got older, obviously stuff takes over, you know, drinking, partying, working, and being in the army, and I didn't really get the chance to do anything. Although I wanted to, I didn't really get the chance to. And then when I came out of the army, I had a flat, and then I bought a load of tools in the flat and pretty much nearly burnt it down quite a few times, playing with stuff. And then when we got a house, there was a shed, so that's where it all sort of started properly.
I can relate to that. I mean, there was definitely at least a 15-year gap between when I was young and I was into making things, and then when I got to be an adolescent and discovered girls, and then got old enough to get into found parties, and then I found alcohol, and then at some point in time after that, I remembered that I really kind of dug to making things. But yeah, there's a 15-year gap in between my period of making things that, quite honestly, is a blur. I don't remember much of it, to be honest with you. But that's apparently I had a good time, so it's all right. It's okay.
So how, or rather, say how, but what made you take the leap from your shed and doing what you presumably doing in your shed at home, nearly burning the house down, etc., to leaping onto YouTube? Where does that link come from? I mean, because your channel's really successful on YouTube.
Yeah, I started, to be honest, the channel's quite old because I started out with just putting videos up where, you know, just like random videos where I'd wind my missus up or something like that, and I just used to put anything up on there. And then eventually, I think I seen a video where someone made a knife, and I decided to try that and video it. And then that's where it sort of evolved into, like, I've deleted all the older videos now and then just kept it solely as the channel that it is now. I think it's maybe been about two or 3 years that I've been doing that stuff.
But what was the actual, the kind of catalyst to say, do you know what, actually, I'm going to do this and run the channel rather than just, you know, doing the whole putting a video up about this or that or the other, but actually to physically kind of manage it and take it on and run with it in that way?
Well, I think it was a file knife video. What I did, I put it up and it did really well, and then it sort of spurred me on, because before it was just a bit of fun. I was just putting stuff up, and it spurred me on. I thought, right, if I make some more like interesting things and put it up, it might interest more people, and, you know, bring more people into it. You know, when you first start a channel and you get 100 subscribers, you think you're a king, and you think when you walk down the street, you think everyone's going to know your face and stuff.
Because everybody in the world equals 100, and they know you, right?
Yeah.
Onur, there's some fellow countrymen of yours out in the chat wanting to know where you're from. They're trying to pinpoint your accent. So where are you from?
Yorkshire.
Is a Yorkshire man?
Yorkshire.
Now, for those that are, and Richard will tell you that I am geographically deficient. Where exactly in the UK is Yorkshire?
It's below Scotland and above France. It's the heart of England.
Is it
on the right-hand side?
On the right-hand side, by the North Sea, according to I've just learned that. All right, okay.
For all Americans, it's in Europe.
It's on that island between Ireland and France. It's that place. Anyway, okay, good enough. All right, so Yorkshire, that answers the question.
There's actually a couple more questions from out in the chat as well. One's from Caroline Hines. She would like to know how many tattoos on her has.
I don't actually know. An exact number. I don't really know. I haven't really counted them. They're just sort of like merging together at the moment.
So he has one. Caroline, he has one.
Just one. The other question come from Claire from Making It Out of the Woods. She wants to know what build is the one that you're most pleased with so far.
I'd probably say the helmet restoration, because it pissed off everybody and their dog.
And that's your favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love the attitude. It's like, well, this is going to piss you off. Okay, that makes me happy. Why did that make people mad? I mean, what was their problem with that? Because I saw that video, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, am I just stupid, or what was the deal?
Well, people seem to have a bit of a thing because they said because it was a war artifact, I shouldn't have restored it. But what they don't understand is it was civilian issued, and there's like billions of them around. People throw them away, you know. It was like someone.
I remember this because it was a helmet that was worn by the British civil defense.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a World War II where a guy wore it in the battlefields of France. It was something the guys ran around town with when they were trying to put out fires in London. I mean, it's one of those things.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, chances are a pig's pissed in it, but I don't care about that.
Well, you know, I was just going to say that they're the kind of things that our grandparents would have turned into saucepans or bed pans at the end of the war, because nobody had any money or any saucepans or any bed pots. So you're probably right from that point of view.
Yeah.
It had a funny smell to it.
Hey, you give people a chance to be a snob, and they're going to take it. It's like, whatever. That's awesome.
They've got to watch the video to put the hate down. So I'm happy either way.
I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but do you intentionally kind of get halfway through a build and think this could potentially be a really dodgy video, as in like provoking people, or do you just?
Yeah, to be honest, I'd never even thought of it. Like, I'd never. You know, when I was restoring it, I didn't think anything of it. Like, people restore all sorts of things. People restore old cars and, you know, everything. You know, people, like, seem to think that it's worth more unrestored, but there are people who collect things restored, and it's a strange thing. I've never even seen or heard of anyone complaining about it. But I think, you know, the world's coming to a thing where people just like to complain anyway. So even if they liked it, they'd probably just have a little whinge about it anyway.
Because you kind of had a similar response from, you know, individuals with the old hammer, I seem to remember. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, that's quite recently though. That's had a lot of moaning twats on it.
Well, wait a minute. I saw that old hammer, and it was. I mean, it's like you basically dug that out of the dirt. I mean, with that thing, you made it useful again. Why are people complain? Why did people complain about that? Okay, I don't get it, and I doubt that you have a reason for it either. But that's just that blows me away. Well, I mean, you know what I really want to explain to these people. There's two things I want to tell these people. First thing is the helmet wasn't yours, it was Onur's. The hammer wasn't yours, it was his. What he did with it is up to him and his freaking business. I mean, you know, so do me a favor, kiss it. I mean, you know, if you want this hammer, go find your ass one, and then don't restore it and leave it the way you think it should be, but don't tell me this is mine. Okay? It's like, wow. Man.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But one thing that strikes me about all your sort of social media presence and your response to the comments and the way you see a project, you get on with a project, and you just throw yourself into it, crack on, put the video out, and then you embrace those comments, and you appear to. And so I genuinely like that, because, you know, we've all had comments where we've thought, you know, it kind of gets under your skin, but you seem to just have really thick skin and Teflon coated shoulders and just go, yeah, whatever. And you always seem to kind of push back the same, if not more. Is that 100% genuine, or have you had the odd comment where you've just gone, ugh, and it's got to you?
No, I think I sort of enjoy replying to them. I like to try and troll them back. Like, I know that they're trying to wind me up, so if I get wound up, then they've achieved But if I can wind them up, and like if I reply to them and they don't reply back to me, then basically I've won that war. But I think it's just from being in the army, you know, like go every single day you go on parade, and then the sergeant major would tell you like I shagged your mum last night. So you know you've got to be tough. You can't really just like take everything and be like, oh God, he shagged my mum last night. He didn't shag my mum last night, but they just say things like that to you just to try and wind you up.
It certainly is the perfect environment to develop a thick skin and just go, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And for Americans, shag means is to have intercourse with.
Coitus.
It's not a tobacco.
it's not, and it's not a type of carpeting. Yeah, it's it means getting horizontal with the other gender. Anyway,
developing that thick skin, it kind of is a good segue into another little area of something that I found out. Something that I would just definitely not be suitable, because are you still a cage fighter, or were you a cage fighter?
Nah, still am active at the moment, but getting old.
Right. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, because my understanding is you literally step into a cage with another person and just go at it for a while. Is that just about sums it up?
Yeah, pretty much. That is it. Yeah.
So how do you get involved in something like that? Do you just get drunk in a bar one night and the bouncers go, "Well, actually, he could be good at this," or do you apply? Is there an interview for it, or what do you have to do?
Basically, I started watching it when I was younger, and then when I was in the army in Blackpool, there was a gym there, and I went there with a load of the other lads, and I enjoyed it. They never went back, but then, once you've met everyone, I just kept going, and then it sort of went on from there. I just enjoy it, so to speak.
Just enjoy fighting.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely an adrenaline rush. I mean, my puny little butt will never be inside a cage. I mean, no friggin' way. Unless I'm looking at a 10-year-old and I'm allowed to beat the shit out of it. But I'm not. It's just not going to happen. But that's pretty awesome. I mean, let me ask you a question about that. How many times have you had your nose broken?
Quite a few. I'd probably say maybe 10 times.
Yeah, nothing hurts more than a broken nose. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Nothing hurts more than a broken nose.
Yeah, like the first few times it makes your eyes water, but then after a while it's sort of, you just get used to, the feeling of it. It's
jeez.
I honestly can't imagine getting to the point where breaking my nose again is just like, I'm used to it. To me, that is completely unfathomable.
Yeah, when I say it out loud, it sounds a bit weird, but in my own head, it's understandable.
No, but at the time, I mean, you fight your way through it. I mean, you kind of kiss that pain off because you got to keep going. I get it, but it's like the second day after the fight, you're laying there going, "Oh my God, that freaking hurts, man."
Yeah, obviously the next day when the adrenaline wears off, the alcohol wears off. You're in a lot of pain. Your face is hurting.
Kind of sit there and you go, I'm not moving. It's okay.
Oh dear. The Red Smith wants to know: are you going to make a Central next year?
Yeah, I should be going to make a Central. I've got loads of videos pre-recorded, so I haven't started putting it on my videos yet. But when the new videos come in, that's when I'll be announcing that or telling people that I'm going. So I'd like to meet more people there. It was pretty good last year. I met a lot of people there who I've spoken to and not seen in person. It's a good event.
Could we?
Awesome.
I wonder if we could get Nick Zamedi to give us some stage time and put Onur in a cage with the Fools with Tools guys.
That would be good. Yeah,
it's just a thought. It's just a thought, guys. I mean, I don't know, because we're not getting in the ring with them. This is not happening.
Well, Steve's after a few rounds with Steve at the moment. Because he didn't get spiffed on the show.
He is. Let me ask you about your last video. Your electrolysis machine. How'd that work out? Did that work out good?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, the thing what I used it in originally is the water tank from out the fridge, so I've had to buy a new water tank. And
Did you actually?
yeah, my missus has only just found out about that.
Oops.
Yes, but I've replaced it with one more I bought from IKEA. But yeah, it works. It works really well. It's pretty quick as well. It's a lot quicker than using like the rust converters. I think when I put the thing in, it took about half an hour and it cleaned it to bare metal. The only thing it didn't clean on the wrench was it didn't free up the mechanism on it. Where that's when I had to whack the wrench to free it up.
Because I thought that was really interesting. Because you just used regular water, and then you put you put like sulfur in there?
Sodium carbonate, but I think you can use like soap suds. All it is I think you can use salt as well. It's basically makes the water carry the electric better.
Oh, just so it carries the okay, I get it. That's actually pretty cool. I thought that was actually awesome that you did that.
Don't they use baking powder on that? What's them things for?
Well, it has to have. It's got to be I believe it's sodium based, is because sodium carries the electricity so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
I saw on I think it's maybe your first couple of videos actually that on YouTube. You started making your own tattoo guns. Is that something you ever did beforehand, like a tattoo artist of sorts?
No. My missus is a tattooist. She just put her on.
Oh, right.
I don't know why, 'cause no one can see her. Yeah, she's the tattooist. And I made her a machine, and then I started making and selling machines while I was in the flat. And yeah, I put a few videos. They're the videos. Like I put those up, and I didn't delete them because they did all right as videos. So I kept those on there. But I've sold all the equipment now what I had for it because it was a pain in the ass.
Play. Oh.
So are you you kind of the guinea pig for the missus's tattooing?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, she's done a few on me. Test? She did like portraits when she did her first portrait. She did that on me. It turned out all right, luckily, but.
But just put it in a place where I can cover it up with.
Hey, look, the real Steve has joined us. Hi, Steve.
We said his name 3 times.
Shark, baby shark, baby shark, baby shark.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Hello.
Hello, Steve.
Ooh,
You got any questions, Steve?
Oh God, give me a minute to settle in.
Well, you came in the door all singy, and we thought that was it. You hitting the road and just running with it, but obviously not. So
No.
Yeah, all right. I've got another question for you then. On your hand crank fire alarm restoration video, you put out about a 4 or 5 minute video on just outtakes. How many outtakes did you not put in that outtakes video?
That was actually all the outtakes. I don't. If I get like a decent amount of outtakes in a video, then I'll try and do an outtake video. But that one, for some reason, right at the end, I just couldn't seem to get anything right, and then I progressively just got angrier and angrier, which just made everything go even more wrong.
Well, I watched that video, and I saw you trying to close that video out by yourself, and then you apparently went and had a conversation with your better half, and then then you had several takes of her trying to open the door and do a bit, and then it was just she must have been cracking you up, because every time she opened the door and asked you a question, you'd look over at her and just, yeah, okay, I'm done.
It's just when you sit there and you just realize how ridiculous it is, you just think to yourself, why am I doing this for like a 5-second bit of video, which is going to go into a video, which a lot of people probably won't even notice in the main video anyway.
What are you doing to that bell? What are you doing to that bell? What are you doing to that bell?
It just progressively got worse and worse. She couldn't even open the door without me laughing by the end of it. Luckily, we got enough on the first take to put that in.
I'm rubbing it. You're rubbing your own bell. Yes, I am. Too funny.
So where do you find all these sort of like old things and stuff to restore? And do you just see things and go, that would be a good video? Or do you, I want to make a knife. What can I make a knife out of, sort of a thing? What's your kind of thought process behind them?
Yeah, if I see something, I sort of like to have a bit of a challenge. That's why I started doing a few restorations, and I thought with the like for the helmet, I just thought it'd be an interesting thing to restore. And then the bell was another one. When I seen the bell, I thought, yeah, I'd like to restore that just because I just think it'd look cool, And then with knives as well, I like finding, like, I made a knife out of carbon fiber. It didn't turn out perfect, but I like to try and make a knife out of some of what people haven't made a knife out of before. It's just a bit of, like the skeleton knife. It was supposed to just be a normal knife, but I messed it up and then I made it like that. People give me a load of shit for that as well, but it's just a bit of fun, It was probably going to go in the bin, and then now I've got a knife. It works fine, Some people said, well, you won't be able to stab anything with it, but I don't generally go around stabbing things with knives anyway, so it's pretty safe.
I was just going to say,
come round here, we'll find out.
That'll never work in the streets of Brooklyn, I'll tell you. Anyway, but you've done a lot of knife videos, but from what I understand, you're not trying to actually get away from it, but you're trying to expand upon the things that you're doing. And the bell, for instance, and I've got a question about the bell, and because I don't know, I'm ignorant. What were those hand cranked bells actually used for? I mean, was that like a school thing, or was that an alarm thing, or what were they originally used for?
Yeah, it's basically like an old fire alarm, like it'd be outside a building. So if there's a fire, someone will go out and turn the handle off. I think some of them had like little hammers on a chain with it, rather than the hand crank. But then there's a tendency that someone's going to steal the hammer, so they brought the hand crank ones into use.
Got it. Okay. Because I don't think those were actually used here in the States. That's why I was wondering. I thought it was maybe primarily a British thing. I didn't know.
Yeah, it might well have been. I think I spoke to someone from France who said that they never used them there. They had different types in France as well.
Yeah,
I think some of them were set off using kind of like a bellows as well, like a foot bellows. It would kind of be like a compressed air type.
So they actually had like a pneumatic one, kind of, sort of, in a way.
Yeah. So it kind of had as they pumped the bellows, the piston would go in and out and ring the bell. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting stuff. So
my old cadet hut had one of those round ones. You have to stand there and spin it round.
With the handle in the center.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, knowing that you've done so many knife videos and that you were looking to expand upon that, what do you have planned? Is there anything that you have on tap that you're looking to do that you haven't done yet to kind of expand your horizon, so to speak?
I've got like a few more restorations while I'm waiting for the bits to come in. What else do I have? I've got a memory box I need to make, what I've been promising since my child was born, and he's nearly 2 now, so that's due to be made in the next 5 years, I'm sure. Yeah.
Give it to him when you take him for his first pint.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just one of them guys where we'll go somewhere and my missus will say, I like that, and I'll go, yeah, I'll just make that. And then it gets added to the list, and the list's absolutely enormous. I'm trying
and you see that old rusty helmet and
yeah, exactly, yeah. Something will just creep up and I'm like, right, yeah, I'm gonna do that first. If it takes my fancy a bit better than what I've actually got written down.
And most of the restorations you've done have all involved metalwork, have they not?
Yeah, they have, yeah.
Okay. Well, Sam Thomas out in the chat wants to know, what's the most difficult restoration that you have done so far? Was there one that really kind of kicked your butt?
It was that little wrench. That's why I named it the impossible wrench, because just getting the mechanism loose, like I think I spent 3 days doing different things, trying to get it loose, and it just won't. And I almost gave up on it. Like it was full of moss, and I thought, you know, because it was so like intricate, the little bits in it. I just thought there's no way of getting them loose. So I was about to abandon all hope when I decided to whack it on the anvil, and then it all freed up.
So, I mean, where do you find these things? Is there like a place where there's old knackered rusty junk near you, or do you go out and search for these things, or do people come to you with them? Or
the wrench I got sent by someone off Instagram. I'm trying to remember his name now. I feel a bit tight because he might be watching. Created by Greg. We did like a swap. I sent him some knife stuff, and then he sent me a load of railway stuff. We found it on a railway, and then I find stuff like, if I just scroll through eBay sometimes, and then certain things will just pop up. Or we've got he runs like a tool shop, but it's all secondhand tools from house sales and stuff like that. And I get a lot of stuff from there. Or if there's certain people who go to car boot sales, and I'll say, "Oh, just keep an eye out for anything what you think I might be interested in," then they'll just let me know.
Yeah. Who's ever come back with a screwdriver and said, "Yeah"? Yeah.
Do you? I don't know if this question's been asked because I missed like probably about 10 minutes from transition of getting a car and walking into the house and sorting stuff. But do you actually sell any of the items that you make? Do you go?
Yeah, I do try to. I'm sort of a bit of a hoarder, so like the alarm bell, I've had loads of people ask me if they can buy it, but it's currently upstairs just because I like it. But I'm never going to use it. It'll probably go in the loft. But yeah, I sold the helmet. I tend to just put it on eBay and let it just go for whatever it goes for. Apart from obviously the knives, I've sold a few of them, but even those, like quite recently, I had about 7 of them just all stacked up in my shed, and then I'll just put it on my Instagram or on my Facebook, see if anyone's interested in buying them.
that helmet's probably been bought by one of the commenters on your video, and they've stuck it out in the garden in the rain to try and make it more desirable to sell it on later.
Most likely.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Are there I know nothing about knife making, but are there certain rules that you have to follow when making knives with the legality of things when you're selling them, or size, shape, and stuff like that?
In England, the laws are weird. I don't think they've changed yet, but I think the new laws are coming into effect soon, where you can't make the zombie killing type knives. So nothing, which is it's just England being England, innit? But obviously, like you used to be able to make knuckle dusters as long as you didn't take them out. But the new laws are going to be that you can't make them anymore. Push daggers, you can't make those anymore. So there's specific types what you can't make, and then there's, in regards to like just a normal basic blade, you can make it. You can make anything like a sword if it's just a basic type thing. As long as you aren't like walking down the street trying to chop people's heads off with it, unless there's a zombie apocalypse. And then
so you can't make a brass knuckle that breaks someone's jaw, but you can make a sword that will go straight through them. That's cool.
Yeah. Because we are in England and we have the weirdest laws ever.
So could you make a really long sword which had like the like the old musketeers, the basket around it, and make it really ornate?
Oh yeah, The strange thing is they're okay, but like a trench knife, which is a knuckle duster, is not okay. It's such a weird thing.
It makes you wonder who comes up with the rules and what do they actually know in order to make these decisions.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
This is the thing what I've had on my channel. I've had a lot of people say to me, you shouldn't be making knives because it teaches people to stab people or whatever. I don't know where they get the facts from, but what they need to look at is the majority of stabbings and what knives are used are kitchen knives, which are readily available. No one who is going to stab their mate on the street is going to go and get a knife custom made to then stick it in the friend's head. It's going to be a kitchen knife, which you can just go in the drawer, put some beef up with it, and then go stick it in the mate's spine. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the knives that you're making, I mean, they're not necessarily ornamental, but I mean, because they do work, but it's just like these are not knives that you would initially make to go do that kind of thing. And let's be honest, when that kind of thing does happen, if a knife isn't available, then a hammer is. I mean, you know, it's like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Give me a break. Anyway, knuckle dusters, and by that, for people who don't know what a knuckle duster is, it's the handle of a knife that has a piece of metal that goes around the outside of your fist, so that you can use that in a fight as opposed to the edge of the blade. Am I correct?
Yeah. It's the old trench knives. They obviously had them in the trench so they could either stab someone or punch someone's face.
Yeah. So it's basically brass. It's basically brass knuckles at the end of the knife. That's what a knuckle duster is. Okay, just want to make sure people knew what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in where the term duster comes from, because every time somebody says duster, I'm thinking like.
Well, because if you hit them with them, they wind up making some dust because they're going down. It's a knuckle duster. That makes sense.
Yeah, maybe my head's off in a different direction there. So you briefly mentioned earlier, and I'm concentrating on the time as well. Although I suspect we could probably just chat all night. You've got some videos that are stacked up, ready to go.
Yeah.
Any kind of little teasers as to what they might be?
One of them, the trolls are probably going to like it. My next video, which will be up in not next week, the week after on the Saturday. It's called Not an Axe Restoration. That's the teaser I'll give you.
Ooh.
So it's a screwdriver restoration then.
That's not an axe. That's a spoon.
Ah, you want a game of knifey spoony?
You guys are kinky. I'm not even going to go there.
Probably best not to, Chris.
Yeah.
So how long did you spend in the army then, on it, and why?
Well, I was in the army for 7 years. I served in the army.
What was the decision? Was it like a good job, or were you like it was either that or go to prison, or why the interest in the army from sort of the making and the drinking and
basically it was like I after leaving school I had God knows how many jobs. Like I've made candy floss, I've worked on a mushroom farm, I've done all sorts of things, and nothing ever worked for me. And my cousin was in the army, and then one day we were both drinking together because I used to go out and get drunk all the time. And he just said to me, "Why don't you join the army?" And I was like, well, I was drunk, so I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And then the next day, he just came and got me, and then I went, and then it sort of went from there. But I think, to be honest, like my life wouldn't be the way it is now if I didn't join the army. I'd have probably just been drinking and nothing.
So you joined the army to get away from the drinking life.
Yeah, pretty much. Even though while I was in the army, I drank quite a lot. Well.
I was going to say, like, wait a minute. Okay, my brothers were both in the service, and the service and drinking and all that happens together. I mean, that's just all part of the game. It's just that you've got somebody trying to make a man out of you at the same time, and apparently that works.
Yeah, well, I think when I first joined the army, it was pretty quiet. There was the Iraq War was sort of just starting. And we were in Bosnia, so we spent half our lives just drinking and playing on the computer, and then the Afghan war started, and we were deployed there. And then ever since the Afghan war started, there was no time for doing the drinking what we used to do. It was always training for war. So, and then
suddenly you're busy doing the drinking. It's like peacetime soldiers drinking, and then all of a sudden, oh, actually, we've actually got to go to work today.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, that was one of the reasons why I joined the army. I wanted to go and fight. I wanted to see what it was like. It's a life experience. I've always been interested in that sort of thing. So then when the chance came, I was sort of happy anyway, and then sort of took my army job a bit more seriously from then.
Well, yeah, I mean, because Afghanistan isn't actually known as Party Central. I mean, that country doesn't lend itself to having a whooping good time. I mean, wow. Yeah. Well, much respect to you, my friend. Happy Veterans Day.
Yeah.
I'm still dwelling on the fact that you used to make candy floss and work on a mushroom farm. I'm just imagining you on exercise one night and someone saying, "Oh, I've been treated like mushrooms again." You go, "Actually, this is nothing like mushrooms."
Yeah, it was a weird job. It was in a big dark room, and then we had like loads of punnets, and you had to put them in the size order. And I actually got fired because I couldn't be asked. You'd have like a chart of the size order, and I couldn't be asked checking them all, so I just used to chuck them all in, and I kept getting it wrong, and that's why I got fired.
Are you sure you weren't eating mushrooms and seeing candy floss?
I might do that, yeah. I ate a lot of candy floss when I worked there. That's why I got fired.
You're putting all the mushrooms on sticks.
How do you size mushrooms in a dark room?
There is like some sort of light, like UV.
You don't want to know.
I was going to say, can you imagine the pranks on that stage?
Pitch black. That's not a mushroom.
Andy Pugh wanted to know what regiment you was in.
The Green Howards. It's now the 2nd Battalion Yorkshire Regiment.
So a proper soldier, not a tradesman.
Nah, I was a real man. I didn't have enough brains to do anything else, so.
Well, yeah, Green Howards. I'll go with that.
Careful, Richard. He knows how to make a big knife.
Yeah.
Maybe he hasn't got to worry because he won't stab him with it.
and
he's
I
think
he said,
this guy's a cage fighter, for God's sake.
I think he also said that knuckle dusters are going to be made illegal. They're not yet made illegal.
And they're only illegal if you get caught with one. So that's
Be afraid, Richard. Be very afraid.
Yeah, I didn't see nothing.
So, is there any sort of area of making that you want to get into? I know, some people want to do more blacksmithing, and then maybe go into machining, or do you just take that as the next project?
Yeah, I just take it as it comes. But I did want to start making, I made an industrial cabinet not long ago. But I was thinking about maybe making more of those, just to, I don't know why. It's just everyone commented and said, "Why have you got that in your shed?" But it just, to me, when I build something what looks nice and then put it in my shed, it just makes it a bit more homely. I'd like to do a bit more stuff like that. Maybe I just need a bigger shed though.
So you have to hone your woodworking skills for an extension.
all right. Let me ask the Richard question. How big is your shed? How large is your shed?
I can't even remember how big it is now. Because it was originally a normal size shed, and then I've extended it with pallet wood, and so it's got 2 areas in it now. But off the top of my head, I can't think what size it actually is.
But it's okay for you.
Yeah, it's plenty of room. I've got rid of a lot of the old stuff what I never used, and as you start using stuff, you know what to put where and move everything around, and it makes it a bit more spacious.
No, I get that. Believe it or not, Richard, I have a problem with space in my shop too.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it tonight.
I'm not going to say a word. I'm done. I'm done talking. You guys have a good show.
Wicked. Well, we're nearly on the hour, and I'm going to assume that Jamie's got something for Jamie's page. Is that right?
You assume wrong.
Oh, so fair enough. We'll just crack on with the questions then. I don't care. It's no odds to me. What was the reason for coming out for the army then? Was it you just got? I mean, I know a lot of lads getting hacked off with it, and just. Or was it family?
I sort of had a misunderstanding with the new CO who took over, because he was a real posh guy, and he didn't like the fact that I had tattoos, and he said that I want a sellable soldier, so they sort of forced me out. It was when the redundancies came in, well, before the redundancies came in, they were trying to get people out, so they wouldn't have to pay them. Otherwise, I'd probably still be in today, to be honest.
So that's interesting. That's not one that I'd come across. I know quite a few people that sort of turned around and said, you know, it's not what it was, and it just basically got hacked off with it, or there were opportunities that were better for them on City Street. So did you find
it's a strange thing, the army, because they give you a year. Like, you can't, like, you know, like a normal job, you could just, like, you have like a week, you can a week's notice. In the army you have a year, so I probably signed off about like, signing off is basically giving you notice. I probably did that about 4 times, but then it'd get like 3 weeks into it or 3 months into it, and then I'd be like, oh no, I'm staying in, you know. It's a weird one. It's too long of a period of time. Plus you have like your good times, so you're like, yeah, I'm staying in, and then you have your shit times and you're like, no, I'm getting out. So you sign off on your bad days, and then when it's a good day, you're like, yeah, I'll bring that back in.
I chatted to a lot of guys that there's actually quite a growing almost discontent about the sign-off period and how legal it actually is, because like you said, most places, like even like doctors and surgeons and really high paid professionals that are in very specific, well educated areas have a much shorter kind of period of time. It's quite a weird one, that.
Yeah, it is. I know a lot of people complain. I think, thinking back now, I'm glad that it was so long, because I think a lot of people would be out. I know a few people who got out and got back in like a year later, because they'd realised that they actually missed it or they liked it. So it works in some ways, but then in other ways where people genuinely just don't like it and they want to get out, then it don't work for them, because it's such a long period. You know, a year. For that year, if they know you're getting out of the army, you get treated like an absolute piece of shit for that whole year, because you're just basically a little scapegoat. You know, you can do this, you can do that. You're getting out. You know, you're going to be a civilian. You're going to be able to do what you want. So you're going to be given all the shit jobs.
Yeah.
I get point sending you on a course when they can send someone else because you're leaving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I get that from both sides, because I mean, as the person who's getting out, I mean, obviously, as you just mentioned, it's going to suck, because nobody in authority is going to look at you and go, well, I don't care about you anymore. You're leaving. You know, I don't care. So you're the one who's going to go, you know, shovel the poop tent, you know, and you're going to go, I don't care about you because you're leaving. But at the same time, if you're the country that's employing these guys, you don't want your whole, because these guys are the defense of your country. You don't want them to be, you don't want the entire armed forces to be able to give a 2 weeks notice. I mean, you really need to know a little bit beforehand if your entire armed forces are going to freaking just quit. I mean, so yeah. I get it from both sides. I mean, but you know, I don't know if there's a happy medium there, Richard. I don't know, you know.
Maybe 6 months.
6 months. Well, I mean, I think you could probably half that and probably be okay with it. Yeah, you're probably right. 6 months probably works. A year might be a tad long.
So what did you do when you came out? Were you into making, or you know?
I started working at a metal galvanizing place. Just trying to think in factories where you get like cables running up the walls. They're usually in like a cage in like a cage, and the factory what I used to work for, like they make that stuff. So it'd come in as bare steel, and then we'd galvanize it, form it, press it, and all that sort of stuff. What else did I do? Can't even think what other jobs I've had now. I've had all sorts.
Well, what are you doing now?
Just fighting. That's sort of my full-time job at the moment, which is a ridiculous full-time job, but
yeah, just fighting. Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Like it's just like a casual thing to be doing.
I'll tell people something else instead. I usually just make something up if people ask me what I do.
Trainee blacksmith.
Yeah.
Restorer of antique restorer. There you go.
Yeah, I'll use that one next. Actually, antique ruin antiques for a living.
I restore things that shouldn't be restored for a living. There you go.
Yeah, I turn priceless artifacts into worthless pieces of shit for a living.
I sell them on eBay. So there you go.
Got a roaring trade in boat anchors.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. You're certainly up there in terms of characters, Onur, and I've genuinely thoroughly enjoyed tonight. And hopefully we'll get a bit of more of a kind of an off-screen chat once the show's over. But of course, we always at the end of every show kind of do a shout out. I'm just assuming that you haven't watched the show before, because why would you, and all of that. We've all got a shout out ready. Do you have anyone you want to shout out this week? Someone you've been watching or that inspires you, or you want to have a pop at, or whatever?
Yeah, I think I'd like to give a shout out to Waffles Designs. Not long ago, probably a month or two ago now, we went down there for Woodstock and just spent a bit of time there playing around, making stuff, getting to meet everyone, and it's been pretty helpful. Yeah, we all got to wear the wig and slag each other off to each other's faces rather than just via stories. So it was pretty interesting, and it was a decent time. He's a real knowledgeable guy, real helpful. He's also a massive prick, so.
I like him already.
That right there, Chris, is a reason to get yourself on Instagram more often.
Yeah, most likely.
Anyone on YouTube? Because I don't think Waffles isn't on YouTube, is he? He's a Instagram only, kind of just for his patrons.
I think he's a YouTube Nazi. He has got some videos on YouTube, but no one wants to watch him because no one wants to see his face. I think
if he's on YouTube, I'll look him up. It's Waffles Design, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a Facebook page as well. I think YouTube people who. I'm trying to think now. I think at the moment there's a guy on YouTube called Simple Little Live. He makes knives and stuff. He's a real nice guy. I follow him on Instagram as well. So I think for YouTube people, it'd be him.
What was the name again?
What, for Waffles or?
No, the last one. What was his name?
Simple Little Life, I think his channel's called. The bloke's called Jeremy.
Okay.
What about you, Chris? Because you're the guy that always chases us for shout outs.
I am the guy who always chases you for shout outs, and I've got a very boring one this week. And I apologize for it, but I'm going to mention it just because there are going to be some people I think will benefit from it if they decide to spend the time to. Because what I'm about, the shout out I have is not exciting, guys. It's not, there's no haha involved in it. There's no great video. If you want to learn some woodworking, go check out Charles Neal. Charles Neal's been putting out some videos recently in a series, and it's about the most boring subject in the world. But if you take the time to put your cap on and sit down and go, okay, I'll watch this, and you're going to learn something. He has an entire video series about sanding, sanders, everything from A to Z regarding sanding. And if you spend what is basically the 20 minutes that all these videos encompass to watch, it's going to save you a lifetime of work. So if you have the opportunity, check out Charles Neal on YouTube, and check out that series he's doing on sanding, because granted, it's a very boring subject. The videos are not high quality. They're not haha funny, but you will learn something if you watch them. So if you have the opportunity, check out Charles Neal.
You don't really sell it when it's sanding, but I get the tone.
It's hard. Trust me, it's a hard subject to sit through. But if you are willing to pay the price, you will learn something, and you will learn something that will save you hours in your future. And I kid you not, because the man knows his work. If you're not familiar with Charles Neal is a master woodworker, and he's been doing it for eons. And the tips that he has to give you will save you hours of work. So if you have 20 minutes, to save hours of work in your future, spend it and just kind of get over that hump and then move on, because he's got worthwhile knowledge to give up. So there you go. My shout out. I was just trying to be helpful this week, not entertaining. Sorry.
We're never entertaining.
No, you're right. I'm not.
Wow, Richard, you're in a really bitchy mood tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, I am a bit actually.
He is, isn't he?
Wow.
It's okay. I can take it.
Come on, then, Steve. Get us back on track. Like I've
Yeah, my shout out is a channel called Monster Tutorials. He's a guy in America, and he does all this kind of I don't know, stage stuff that he builds, and he builds a lot of masks and stuff, but it's all based around horror and stuff like that. He's got about 45,000 subscribers, so he's doing okay on the YouTube scene, but the stuff he makes is pretty awesome. But he also shows how to make stuff from simple stuff you can get from the dollar store, pound store, euro store, whatever. And the most recent video was making an easy DIY cemetery graveyard fence. It was for Halloween, and he just used a bit of pipe, some plastic chain, and reconfigured some cheap skulls he bought, and made a really cool chain link fence around his garden for a Halloween effect. So check him out, he's good.
Awesome.
Oh, I also just want to mention one person as well. Just this weekend, I met Leona Faye Woodturner. She's really awesome. She bought me this hat, and she made me a Guinness. Look, she made me a pint of Guinness. You can't see it if you're on the podcast, but it opens, and in it has a surprise. She bought me some grinding bits that go in the bottom, you know, some saber tooth grinding bits, and also the top opens with other bits in it as well. Isn't that cool? Thank you. Thank you, Leona. You're absolutely awesome.
Nicely done. Jamie, have you got any shout outs this week?
I do. And my shout out, in actual fact, goes to one of our own.
Oh God.
It goes to Mr. Chris Cute. He made by far his best video on YouTube to date. And the reason it's best is it's because of the designs, if I'm totally honest, that he was supplied with. He basically made a handheld tic-tac-toe game for kids, and I'll tell you what, the video is so good, he might as well quit YouTube now, because he ain't going to get better than this. So that's all I'll say.
I like the way it's for kids, but actually it was designed by you. I'm going to leave it at that.
And I was under a lot of medication.
Oh boy. Did he send me some drunken plans? Yeah, but you know what? Jamie, thank you. And I guess
so tic-tac-toe, that's noughts and crosses in real language, right?
Yeah, in English.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Red and green, I think, in Chris's
wow.
case,
Thank you? Question mark?
Well, my shout out this week, very quickly, and it will be very quick, is Laura Kampf. She just tonight put out a video. It's about 12 or 13 minutes. I think she's doing a series of introductions and interviews with makers. She started off with Jimmy DiResta, and I know he's been interviewed an awful lot, so maybe some of the questions you already know the answer to. But the reason this stuck out for me wasn't so much the fact that it's Laura and or Jimmy. It was the way she's edited it. Because interview type talking videos can be very difficult to watch sometimes, but she's edited it really quite professionally, documentary style almost, in the way that it all happens and things. So for me, that was the kind of take home point. So well worth watching if you're thinking of how to kind of jazz up your editing, as it were.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, Laura does a lot of that kind of. She's got a very cinematic feel to her videos. She tends to make the video
interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Which I'm terrible at.
So am I.
So, Honor, You're looking exceptionally bored there and being polite, so thanks for that. But also thanks for coming on tonight, because I know you had a few sort of technical issues. It was a bit, will it work, won't it work? But A, I'm surprised you wanted to come on, because it is us. But B, it was great having you on. Like I said, I think we'll probably have an interesting chat after the show if you've got time to stick around, because I know you're a dad and you've got family duties and things like that, and you'll probably get stick from the missus going, "You still up? Kids are asleep," and all that. So,
yeah. Cheers for having me on. It's been fun. I don't really like talking in front of a camera, but yeah, it's not too bad. I suppose I better get used to it, since I have a channel where I'm supposed to talk in front of a camera, but can't edit this out on this. So.
No, it's good to get to know you. I mean, because a lot of people know your videos, but it's nice to know you. So yeah. So actually, thank you very much for coming on with us. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Obviously, a big thank you to everyone that is still listening. Those that aren't, we're going to say what we like about you. I'm not sure if there's going to be a little bit of a freebie for our non-patrons. We don't do that after show party thing or not. So I'll leave that to the hands of Chris. But if you are still watching, fantastic, and have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Do we know what's going on next week, Chris?
Yes, we do.
Are we allowed to tell?
No, I'm not going to mention it.
Good stuff. Well, you have to find out next week. So until then, we'll catch you later.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.